There are American towns so desperate for residents that they will hand you a check for $50,000 just to show up with your furniture and a rental agreement. No gimmicks, no pyramid schemes, just actual municipal governments willing to pay you the price of a decent car to please. For the love of God, move to their town and maybe shop at the local grocery store occasionally. These programs exist because rural America is bleeding population faster than anyone wants to admit. And some towns realize that slow death by depopulation is worse than bribing people to stay. These are not scams. These are economic development initiatives written by town councils who looked at their declining tax base and aging infrastructure and decided desperate times call for direct cash payments. We are counting down 12 United States towns that will literally pay you up to $50,000 to move there in 2026. Some offer cash. Others offer forgivable loans that disappear if you stay long enough. And one place has incentives so stacked you could walk away with free land, business grants, and enough cash to make you wonder what they're not telling you about the winters. One town has more cattle than people, and weather so brutal that money becomes hazard pay. Another has incredible outdoor access, but an economy held together by hope, and one major employer everyone prays does not leave. And yes, one place offers packages exceeding $50,000 if you're willing to work remotely while surrounded by people who have never heard of oat milk and think traffic means waiting behind a tractor for 30 seconds. Think incentive programs are too good to be true? Cool. Let us see if you are ready for places where towns are so hungry for warm bodies they will subsidize your existence. But your nearest Whole Foods is 4 states away, and cultural amenities include a diner, a bar, and Friday night high school football that the entire town attends religiously. Like this video, if you have ever realized the Midwest and rural America are basically paying people to remember they exist. Subscribe, because one day you might want $50,000 more than you want nightlife. And this breakdown might save you from moving somewhere that pays well, but has winters that make you question consciousness itself. Let's break it down. Number 12, Morgantown, West Virginia. Morgantown will pay you up to $20,000 if you are a remote worker willing to relocate to Appalachia and pretend to enjoy college football with cult-like intensity. Welcome to Ascend WV, a program launched in 2021 targeting remote workers. Morgantown has about 50,000 residents, sits along the Monongahela River, and is home to West Virginia University, which means the town has actual infrastructure, restaurants, and people under 70, a rarity in rural incentive programs. The town has outdoor access that is genuinely great. Whitewater rafting, hiking, and mountain biking are minutes away. Housing costs are low compared to cities. The median home price hovers around $200,000. Rent runs about $800 to $1,200 monthly. Here is what Morgantown offers. $12,000 in cash paid over 2 years, free outdoor recreation packages worth thousands, a year of free co-working space, and access to a community of other relocators, so you're not completely socially isolated. The catch is you need to be a remote worker with income from outside West Virginia. You commit to living there for 2 years, and you accept that Morgantown is a college town surrounded by rural Appalachia. When students leave for summer, the town deflates noticeably. One person who relocated said Morgantown offered way more than expected. The outdoor activities were incredible. The cost of living made their salaries stretch further. But the town lives and dies by the university schedule. Summers felt empty. Winter was gray and long. And every conversation eventually included someone asking if they were a Mountaineers fan, which apparently mattered socially. In short, Morgantown pays remote workers to move somewhere affordable with decent amenities. But you are committing to Appalachia, where the landscape is beautiful and economic prospects outside the university are limited. Number 11, Topeka, Kansas. Topeka will hand you $15,000 to move there and pretend the state capital of Kansas is an exciting place to build your life. Choose Topeka is a program offering up to $15,000 for remote workers and $10,000 for anyone who gets a job locally. Topeka has about 125,000 residents. It is the state capital, meaning government jobs exist, but it is also the kind of Midwestern city people forget exists until they see on a map and think, oh right, Kansas is a capital. The cost of living is legitimately cheap. The median home price sits around $160,000. Rent averages $700 to $1,000 monthly. Your salary goes further here than almost anywhere coastal. Here's Topeka's offer. Up to $15,000 for remote workers, up to $10,000 for people taking local jobs, and access to a network of other relocated professionals, so you have people complain about Kansas winters with. The requirements include you have to rent or buy in specific neighborhoods they are trying to revitalize, work full-time remotely or locally, and stay at least a year to get the full incentive paid out in installments. The catch is you are living in Kansas, where the landscape is flat enough to make you understand why people describe it as boring, and tornadoes are a genuine concern every spring. One relocator said Topeka was shockingly affordable. Their rent was half what they paid before. They bought a house within a year, but the town itself felt like it peaked decades ago. Downtown had potential, but not enough activity. Socially, it took months to build a circle. And every spring, they obsessively watch weather radar, because tornado warnings are not hypothetical. In short, Topeka pays you to live somewhere genuinely cheap, but you trade affordability for a town that struggles with identity and weather that includes seasonal existential threats. Number 10, Rochester, New York. Rochester offers up to $19,000, but the real incentive is living somewhere with actual culture and infrastructure while still getting paid to move. Greater ROC Remote offers $10,000 in cash plus $9,000 in homebuyer assistance if you purchase property. Rochester has about 200,000 residents. It was once a booming industrial city, home to Kodak and Xerox. Those days are gone, but the bones of that prosperity remain in the form of museums, restaurants, universities, and parks that most incentive towns cannot match. The cost of living is reasonable. The median home price is around $170,000. Rent runs $900 to $1,300 monthly. Winters are absolutely brutal with lake-effect snow measured in feet, not inches. Here is Rochester's package: $10,000 in direct relocation assistance, up to $9,000 in down payment, help if you buy, and access to a city with legitimate culture, universities, hospitals, and amenities that make it feel like an actual city instead of a town pretending. You need to be a full-time remote employee, move from at least 300 miles away, and rent or buy within Monroe County. The catch is winter will test your sanity. Rochester averages over 90 inches of snow annually. The sun disappears for months. Seasonal affective disorder is not a joke, but a lifestyle factor. One person who moved said Rochester was the best incentive program because it paid well and the city had substance. Museums, restaurants, a Philharmonic, parks along Lake Ontario. But winter was worse than imagined. November through March felt like living in a gray freezer. They bought a sad lamp and learned why people flee to Florida. In short, Rochester pays you to live somewhere with real amenities and brutal winters. The money is great. The city delivers. The weather is the price you pay. Number 9, Hamilton, Ohio. Hamilton offers up to $15,000 to move to a Rust Belt town, trying desperately to rebrand itself as something other than a place people left. The Remote Work Grant Program targets remote employees willing to give Hamilton a chance. Hamilton has about 62,000 residents and sits between Cincinnati and Dayton. It is a former manufacturing town where factories closed, population declined, and now the city is trying to revitalize through arts, downtown development, and paying people to care. The cost of living is incredibly low. Median home prices are around $110,000. Rent averages $600 to $900 monthly. You can live cheaply enough to question if the economy is functional. Here is Hamilton's offer: up to $15,000 paid over 1 year. Requirements include working remotely full-time, moving from outside the region, and living in Hamilton for at least 12 months. The catch is you are moving to a town still recovering from industrial collapse. Downtown is improving, but patchy. Job opportunities outside remote work are limited. And you are in Ohio, where weather includes humid summers and cold winters without the charm of mountains or lakes to justify it. One person who relocated said Hamilton was affordable to the point of being surreal. They rented a whole house for $700 monthly. The incentive money was real, but the town felt half abandoned. Revitalization was happening in pockets, but walking a few blocks showed empty storefronts and houses that needed serious work. Socially, it was tough, because most people their age had left. In short, Hamilton pays you to move somewhere genuinely cheap, but the town is rebuilding, and you are part of an experiment hoping enough people move to create momentum. Number 8, Newton, Iowa. Newton will pay you $10,000 to move to a town whose biggest claim to fame is that it used to manufacture washing machines until that factory closed and devastated the local economy. Newton has about 15,000 residents and sits about 30 miles east of Des Moines. It is small-town Iowa in every sense, which means flat landscapes, conservative politics, and communities where everyone knows everyone, whether you want them to or not. Maytag once employed thousands here. That plant closed in 2007, and Newton has struggled since. Now they are offering cash to anyone willing to move and work remotely or start a business. The cost of living is extremely low. Median home price is about $115,000. Rent averages $500 to $800 monthly, cheap enough that the incentive payment covers months of living expenses. Here is Newton's program. Up to $10,000 for remote workers or new business owners, plus access to entrepreneurial support if you are starting something. You commit to staying at least a year and actually living in Newton, not commuting from Des Moines. The catch is you are in a small Iowa town where economic prospects are limited. Entertainment is whatever you create, and the landscape is flat farmland for miles in every direction. One remote worker said Newton was quiet and cheap. The people were friendly. The incentive was real. But after 6 months, the isolation hit hard. There was one good coffee shop. No live music. No variety. Socializing meant church or high school sports. They saved money but questioned if the trade-off was worth the cultural emptiness. In short, Newton pays you to live somewhere extremely affordable. But you are in small-town Iowa, where low cost of living comes with isolation that money cannot fix. Number 7, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa offers $10,000 cash plus perks that push total value over $15,000, making it one of the most generous and surprisingly livable programs. Tulsa Remote launched in 2018 and has attracted thousands of remote workers. Tulsa has about 400,000 residents in the metro area. It is a real city with actual infrastructure, restaurants, arts districts, and amenities that make relocation feel less like exile and more like a legitimate choice. The cost of living is low. Median home prices are around $170,000. Rent averages $800 to $1,200 monthly. Your coastal salary suddenly makes you feel wealthy. Here is Tulsa's offer. $10,000 paid monthly over a year, a free desk at a co-working space for a year, and access to a community of other remote workers with organized events, so you're not socially stranded. You need to work remotely full-time for a company outside Oklahoma, move within 6 months of acceptance, and live in Tulsa for at least a year. The catch is you are in Oklahoma, where politics are deeply conservative. Tornadoes are annual events, and summer heat is oppressive. One relocator said Tulsa Remote was shockingly well organized. The community was real. The city had good food, breweries, and culture, but the politics were hard. The weather was intense. And every spring meant watching tornado warnings like a part-time job. In short, Tulsa pays well and delivers a real city with low costs. But you accept Oklahoma's weather and politics as part of the deal. Number 6, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah offers up to $2,000 in moving expenses, which sounds low until you realize you are moving to one of the most beautiful cities in the South with charm and culture most incentive towns cannot touch. The Savannah technology workforce incentive targets tech workers and remote employees. Savannah has about 150,000 residents. It is historic, gorgeous, and feels like living inside a southern postcard with Spanish moss and architecture preserved from centuries ago. The cost of living is moderate. Median home prices are around $250,000. Rent averages $1,000 to $1,500 monthly, higher than Rust Belt programs, but reasonable for what you get. Here is Savannah's offer, up to $2,000 in moving expense reimbursement. It is not $50,000, but you are moving to Savannah, where quality of life is an incentive. You work in tech or remotely and commit to living in Savannah. The catch is summer heat and humidity that make you melt, and hurricanes are a real threat requiring evacuation plans. One person who moved said Savannah was worth it even without massive incentives. The city was walkable, beautiful with incredible food. But summer was brutal. They did not leave their apartment midday for months. And hurricane season meant obsessive weather tracking. In short, Savannah pays modestly but offers quality of life most programs cannot match. The money is small. The city is worth it. Number 5, West Virginia statewide programs. West Virginia offers multiple programs exceeding $20,000 if you stack incentives correctly, making it one of the most aggressive states trying to stop population loss. Ascend WB operates in multiple towns, including Lewisburg and Shepherdstown. You get $12,000 cash plus thousands in perks. The state is also piloting rural healthcare worker incentives and teacher loan forgiveness programs that effectively function as relocation payments. West Virginia is desperate. Population has been declining for decades. Young people leave. The state is offering cash to anyone willing to stay or move. The landscape is beautiful with mountains and outdoor access that rival more expensive states. Housing is cheap statewide. Median home prices range from $100,000 to $180,000 depending on location. Here is the statewide appeal. Stack Ascend WB's $12,000 with other state benefits, and you approach $30,000 in total value. Outdoor recreation access is genuinely world-class, and costs are low enough to make your income stretch impossibly far. The catch is West Virginia has serious economic challenges. Job opportunities outside remote work are limited. The opioid crisis is real and visible. Infrastructure is aging. One relocator said West Virginia was stunningly beautiful and heartbreakingly struggling. The money was real. The mountains were incredible. But visiting towns showed the economic pain. Closed businesses, aging populations, and struggles that cash incentives could not mask. In short, West Virginia pays, well, because it is desperate. The state offers real value for people willing to accept economic uncertainty. Number 4, North Platte, Nebraska. North Platte offers $10,000 to workers plus business incentives that push total packages higher if you're entrepreneurial. The new resident incentive program targets workers and families. North Platte has about 24,000 residents. It sits in central Nebraska, surrounded by ranch land and endless horizons. The economy centers on Union Pacific Railroad and agriculture. The cost of living is absurdly low. Median home price is around $130,000. Rent averages $600 to $900 monthly. Here is North Platte's offer. $10,000 for workers who relocate, additional business grants if you start something, and a community desperate enough for residents that you will be welcomed intensely. You need to work full-time, live in North Platte for at least a year, and accept that this is rural Nebraska. The catch is isolation that is hard to convey. You are hours from anything resembling a city. Winters are harsh. Entertainment is what you create. One person who moved said North Platte paid well, and people were incredibly friendly, but the isolation was real. The landscape was flat. There was one movie theater, no live music. Socializing meant church or community events where they were always a newcomer. In short, North Platte pays you to live somewhere incredibly affordable and incredibly isolated. The money is real. The emptiness is unavoidable. Number 3, Lincoln, Kansas. Lincoln offers up to $10,000 to move to a town with fewer than 1,200 people where you will know everyone within a month whether you want to or not. The Rural Opportunity Zone program operates statewide, but Lincoln is one of the most aggressive. Lincoln sits in north-central Kansas. It is tiny, agricultural, and aging rapidly. The program offers up to $10,000 plus free land in some cases if you build. The cost of living is nearly non-existent. Homes sell for under $80,000. Rent is under $600 monthly. You can live for almost nothing. Here's Lincoln's offer. Up to $10,000 for relocating workers. Access to free land if you commit to building within a time frame. And a town so small you will matter just by existing. You need to work or start a business and stay at least 5 years to keep the land. The catch is you are in a town with 1,200 people. One grocery store. No diversity. No anonymity. One relocator said Lincoln was financially incredible. They got land free and built a home cheap. But socially it was suffocating. Everyone knew their business. There were no restaurants, no cultural events, They saved money but felt culturally starved. In short, Lincoln pays well and offers free land. But you are committing to small-town Kansas where isolation is total. Number 2, Bemidji, Minnesota. Bemidji offers up to $15,000 to move to northern Minnesota, where winter lasts 6 months, and the cold makes you question biological survival. The Greater Bemidji Workforce Housing Program targets workers in healthcare, education, and remote work. Bemidji has about 15,000 residents. It sits on a lake surrounded by forests. Outdoor access is incredible. The economy is stable with healthcare and education anchoring employment. Housing costs are moderate. Median home price is around $200,000. Rent averages $900 to $1,200 monthly. Here's Bemidji's offer. Up to $15,000 for workers in target sectors, a beautiful area with lake access and outdoor activities, and a functional economy that does not feel like it is collapsing. You commit to working in Bemidji for at least 3 years. The catch is winter. That makes Rochester look mild. Average January high is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow lasts months. One relocator said Bemidji was beautiful and the money was real. But winter broke them. Darkness and cold from November through March. They bought every thermal layer made and still froze. In short, Bemidji pays well for somewhere beautiful. Winter is a cost you pay. Number 1, Curtis, Nebraska. Curtis takes a top spot by offering up to $50,000 in combined incentives, including forgivable loans, business grants, and child care assistance that stack to create packages exceeding anything else on this list. Curtis has fewer than 1,000 residents. It sits in southwestern Nebraska, surrounded by ranch land. The desperation is palpable. The town is aging and needs anyone willing to stay. Here is Curtis. Up to $10,000 in moving incentives, up to $40,000 in business grants, and forgivable loans if you start a business, free child care assistance worth thousands annually, and access to free land if you build. You commit to staying at least 5 years. The catch is you are in Curtis, Nebraska, population under 1,000. Nearest city is hours away. Winters are harsh. Summers are hot. Entertainment is non-existent. One person who moved said Curtis paid more than anywhere. They started a business with grant money and lived cheaply. But the isolation was existential. They were hours from everything. No restaurants. No entertainment. Socially, they knew everyone because there were only a few hundred people. In short, Curtis offers the most money because it needs people desperately. The package exceeds $50,000 if you are entrepreneurial. The isolation is total. Be honest. Would you take $50,000 to move somewhere rural where costs are low but cultural amenities approach zero? Yes. Pay me to live nowhere, or no. I need cities and variety more than cash. Drop your price below because we just covered 12 towns offering up to $50,000 to move. Subscribe because knowing where America is paying people to exist might matter when you are tired of coastal rent.